Webomaniacs, World of Wrestling.
And I'm here at your doorstep with the World Heavyweight Championship.
Wow, that's strong, brother. He's got whole Canadian wristbands on.
Sign on the dotted line.
I will, brother.
And surrender the title to me.
Whoa!
Wow! What?
Out of your mouth. We're going to start out on the right foot. I got something that'll keep you going all day long, Daddy. Don't worry about a thing, brother. This is the eye of the Hulkster, man. You got to get your head right.
Oh, no.
This is the only way to go.
Welcome to Webomaniacs, World of Wrestling. I am the Webomaniac, and today we're going to be discussing, or I should say, I will be discussing, because due to unfortunate circumstances, my guest will not be appearing on the program this time, but I'm going to do my best to go solo at this, as I've done this before, because as I always say, this is the opinion of one fan. I've gotten more fans involved. You too can get involved. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, message me, email me. I'll put it on the screen. Information's real easy to handle. We can get you in here, and you could be commenting and sharing your thoughts on everything that is pro wrestling. Today, referees, fast counts, bad calls, and DQs. That's going to be topic number one. Topic number two, jobbers. We're going to define them, or I'll define them. Because what are they? Are they targets to enhance superstars, only never to become one themselves? Mic skills make and break a performer. Why are mic skills necessary? Are in-ring interviews needed if disrespect and decorum aren't there? Relationships, wrestlers, and romance. Does it belong? It's going to be a really interesting program to discuss this. I'm glad you can take your time out to tune in to Webomaniacs World of Wrestling on Thursdays and Saturdays on youtube.com/Webomaniac. Referees, fast counts, bad calls, and DQs. The referee is primarily the center of the match. We know the two contenders, or however many are going to be in there, tearing each other up is one thing, but as we have told you before, contests are, in fact, predetermined. And with that, I just want to say that referees play the intricate parts that they do. So referees should be applauded and maybe even Hall of Fame worthy for everything that they put into this business. Now, on many other podcasts, they've showed you things where the referee has an earpiece and he's being essentially told how much time is left by the timekeeper so that they could either wrap up. The wrestlers in there do their thing accordingly. And when the ref is actually acting like he's counting you, or telling you get off the ropes or break the hold or something, at those points he's actually signaling for the for one of the two contenders to actually make the next move as to what it is. If it's going to be a whip into the ropes or or something like that, or if there's going to be a move that gets countered. There are key signals actually involved in this performance, as I'm going to state again, until every fan actually gets it right that these are performers out there on a stage doing their best to entertain us. They hurt themselves, they bleed, they sweat, and I'm pretty sure they've cried a few times after leaving ringside area. But getting back to what it is, referees and the fast counts. Let's take the fast count for one. Certain number of times a wrestler will feel that they got screwed. And that's just a terminology, just as Bret Hart felt he was screwed at Survivor Series, that the ref, as soon as the Shawn Michaels had the hold on him, the ref just immediately called for the bell. There was no indication at all that Bret Hart had tapped out. That's just one example of a referee in a fast type of count. He acted quickly because Vince McMahon was actually standing by ringside telling Earl to ring that bell. And it might have even been Vince himself that told the timekeeper to ring the bell. It's still part of the Montreal Screwjob Survivor Series. So we talked about with the fast counts. With fast counts, match can end rather abruptly, and it can swing in the favor of either contender. And sometimes a fast count has actually been where, let's say, a back suplex was done on, and both contenders' shoulders were down. The one that actually rolls their shoulder at that last split second becomes the winner because the other one had their shoulder down. So you can have a fast count take place like that. But have you ever watched that referees actually have to have a certain cadence to what they do when they count? Okay, and that can lead to such things as bad calls. You know, mistakes will happen actually in that ring. The same way as what happened with Damian Priest at this past Money in the Bank, with him actually not kicking out, and the ref proceeded to count. Okay, so he's tried to explain that botch maneuver out there, but nothing doesn't seem to make sense. But Damian Priest is your world heavyweight champion. And referees making disqualification calls. If a referee is making a call, he or she, because there are female referees out there too, so I just want to correct that one. But DQs, the referee will do that if they find the discretion that they've been roughed up too much. How many times have you seen in matches where referees get knocked down, knocked out, to the point of, okay, another referee comes in and then that wrestler knocks that referee out, only for the original referee to come in. And what does he do? He'll turn around and say, nope, I'm not counting you. Some of them will. Sometimes they'll come around and actually make the 3 count. But other times, if they feel they've been unjustified, they will actually turn around and make a disqualification call against the contender. So that covers our segment on referees. Now we're going to talk about jobbers. A jobber is simply a, a person who's mainly trying to either break into the business and is trying to enhance another talent by making a big guy like Big Van Vader, bless his soul, Leon White, but make a big guy like Vader look even more monstrous and devastating when they stay down and get crushed by these maneuvers such as Vader's powerbomb. Well, a jobber, as I said, is targets to enhance the superstars, only never really to become one themselves. You never see someone like a Dale Wolf or a George South, or the only one that ever came really close to having any kind of a career as a jobber that actually made mockery of one of the superstars, and that was Dwayne Gill. Dwayne Gill, as we know, as Gilbert, after he shaved his head, came down looking like the mini version of Goldberg. A very nasty impression, but they usually say, you know, nothing's more flattering than impersonation or something. But I don't think Goldberg was flattered, but I know Gilbert was flat-tinned. Okay, so back to jobbers. Never to become a superstar. Gilbert did, you know, Dwayne Gill did, but other jobbers, and as we use the term jobber, what does it actually really mean? It means you're out there to do that job according to the predetermined outcome to make that other talent look better than you, as opposed to the, you know, a storyline that has two guys right on each other's level. Okay, somebody like, say, Braun Strowman and Braun Breaker. Those are two bulldozers I'd love to see collide. Tall versus small, yet both are like Big Mac trucks coming through ready to take you out. Yeah, I'd love to see that. And I'd like to know what you'd like to see here on Webomaniacs World of Wrestling every Thursday and Saturday. Catch us at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. Should jobbers ever have a place in the Hall of Fame? Maybe. Maybe they should. Somebody like Barry Horowitz, always patting himself on the back. And you should pat yourself on the back, Barry. You did great work in that squared circle for the performances you gave as a World Wrestling Federation superstar. Oops, World Wrestling Entertainment superstar. That's another topic I'd like to cover one day too. Why? Just always why? 1 minute, one letter, the other minute, the other letter. We know why, but we'll talk about that on another episode, or you can catch other older episodes on youtube.com/Webomaniac. Mic skills. They make or break a performer. Mic skills, as you see, I've got my mic all wired in here and everything. And mic skills, why are mic skills a must? So that people can obviously hear you, hear what you got to say. They'll say, hey, is this thing on? Bobby the Brain Heenan used to do that all the time. one of the greats. Rest in peace, Bobby Heenan. Who do you believe currently is the best on the mic at this time? Currently now. For me, personally, the best one to have the best mic skills in the business as of right now, and he is an active competitor, is CM Punk. The pipe bomb. How can you go wrong with something like that when CM Punk told you years ago what he thought of the business and why it was going the direction that it was going, and now that it's heading in the proper direction with Triple H actually at the helm? Paul Levesque, thank you for your contributions to what you're doing. It's a great job, and we do applaud you here at Webomaniacs World of Wrestling. Do you reach a point when you say very little and then want to fight more? These wrestlers, they get in and they talk and they talk and they talk to the point either someone's getting interrupted, their music plays, their other mic gets cut off or something to that nature. But as far as getting to the point of saying little and fighting more, do you think there needs to be more of that? Write me at webomaniac211 at gmail.com or webomaniac at yahoo.com. I'd like to hear your answers. I'd like to share what your views are about this particular type question. And is it fair to a jobber or even a foreign wrestler because of the lack of mic skills for TV time? Because they don't get those mics, they don't get that TV time slot of airtime so that they can get out with what is important to them. They may come in and say, I'm here with my family. They know that I'm about to get squashed, but everything's going to be okay, and we're going to go out to the Waffle House later on or something. Waffle House, yeah, good place, and a lot of times, a lot of the places that some of the superstars actually dine in at when you can actually see them after the show, if they haven't already bailed out of town and hitting the next town. But is it fair to a jobber or a foreign wrestler because they just don't have that, and that the foreign wrestler doesn't really speak the English all that good? And a lot of times, more foreign wrestlers that I've seen wear masks. Some don't, but when they're out there and they want to propel themselves, if we're going to call this world wrestling entertainment, if we're going to call this all elite wrestling, then everybody's got to be included. If we're going to call it total nonstop action, then everyone's got to be included in that. And that's the way I feel about it. So foreign wrestlers, they need to go back to the days of where they had the picture-in-picture backstage interview, and people would actually see what each contender had to say, and they could say, well, I'm trying to do this for my family. Hope I don't get too hurt out there or something. And if they'll do enough of those, even though you predict that somebody's going to get squashed, you could have a situation like you had with the 1-2-3 Kid. The 1-2-3 Kid pinned Razor Ramon. Sean Waltman, that's right. X-Pac, X-Factor. And so many others that I can't even remember. Probably 6. That's the other one. Yeah, that's right. Now we're going to move on and talk about, are in-ring interviews needed if disrespect and decorum aren't there? And what we mean by that is the fairness and the mistreatment of those ring announcers and ones that actually are out there to, for lack of a better word, try to get the inside scoop on things. Due to, as I talked about last time, due to the fact that you have certain people that spoil and write spoilers because they've got more inside information on the business, and they're not even approaching it as a press conference, a true press type conference like what you would see in politics or anything like that. No, nobody's dodging questions or anything like that. If you notice that all the questions, they do get answered, some more than others, they're too easy to know that what they were wanting to ask, because they already knew ahead what was going to be asked. So spoilers to me do nothing but spoil the fun of anything can happen in wrestling. I want to see that come back to a point where we get another person like a Sean Waltman who would actually pin Razor Ramon. And Scott Hall, he's also, rest in peace to you too. But the disrespect and the lack of decorum that these wrestlers show towards these announcers, are the interviews really necessary? Because every time an interviewer gets up there, male or female, they're disrespected. They're like, give me that thing. You go out this way. You go, all right, I've had enough. You do this, you know. And of course, one of the greats, another one that we lost, of course, the great Mean Gene Okerlund. That one takes me back. Sorry, I had to get a little bit emotional about Gene there, because he's the one that always kept it together and kept them in line no matter what. Because as he said in the big turn of Hulk Hogan on the NWO there, when he turned face to heel, he basically just, you know, said, you better tell these people to shut up if you want to hear what I got to say. And he says, don't touch me, I've got a fleet of lawyers. I love Mean Gene on that note. And somebody needs to really do something like that. I thought for a while there, when we had Mark Henry, whose contract is actually up in AEW, and you might even see a reemergence of the world's strongest man back in WWE, or you might not. But one way or another, if we do see him, I would like, if he does go back into backstage type interviews, I don't want it to be like they did him in AEW, where they only just gave him one line and he says, it's been enough talk. It's time for the main event. He needs something more than just that kind of a line. He needs to be that strong personality that could actually serve as a catalyst of successful interviewers to come, that could actually keep other wrestlers in their place. Who's going to want to mess with that big guy? Not yours truly, not me, no way. I am creeping it real, as my shirt says there. And as we're creeping it real, or keeping it real, as we would tell you, relationships, wrestlers, and romance. Does it belong? Now, we just got through talking about Mark Henry. Mark Henry, sexual chocolate. Him and Mae Young. Mae Young gives birth to the Hand. That was a strange one. But as we said, anything can happen. In that particular instance, that kind of surprise factor is not something that we as understood, educated wrestling fans want to see. I don't even think kids would want to see an interlude between any two people that would go on to showcase the birth of just a hand. I mean, is that how we got Thing from the Addams Family? I think his fingers looked through the yellow pages and did the walking all the way to Hollywood for Addams Family Values. You know, relationships, wrestlers, romance. Does it belong? To some instances, it can be entertaining when you look at something like an Edge and Lita of past. It can be entertaining as we're in the present with Dirty Dom and Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. That one's going to explode. That one will definitely explode. That revenge tour, who's the revenge going to be for? Is it going to be more so for Rhea Ripley in getting her title back at SummerSlam? And yes, here in Webomaniacs World of Wrestling, we will cover current type matches and events of popularity. You say it, I'll bring it, as The Rock will say. And for right now, that's all we're going to say this week, as we are going to be wrapping up. The show's cut just a little bit short here this time, but Saturday, welcome back my guest, Austin Goudreau, as he'll have plenty more to say to help fill in some of these gaps with his opinions. You've heard mine, and this is Webomaniacs World of Wrestling. See you next time, folks.